Welcome to Growth Colony, Australia's B2B podcast. I'm Alex from Xgrowth. Each episode, we bring you B2B founders, CMOs, marketing and sales leaders to find out about their successes, fails, and what's working for them in the market. If you enjoy the episode, please consider giving us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts and share the pod with a friend. And of course, make sure to join the community Slack channel at growthcolony.org/Slack to connect with our members. That's enough from me. Let's dive right in.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode. I'm Shahin Hoda with Xgrowth, and today I'm talking to Jill Berry, CEO and co-founder of Adatree, about her advice on how organizations should approach and target the financial services space in Australia, what works, what doesn't work, and how to ensure a successful sales and marketing approach to the sector. On that note, let's dive in. Jill, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Shane. Very exciting topic.
Yeah, same over here. Super excited. So first of all, Adatree, young startup, and has accomplished some amazing things in the past 2.5 years that you and the team have been operating. One being landing 28 banks and credit unions in this short period of time. Okay, so I want to start from there. And I want to hear the story of that, of how did you make that happen?
It was an unexpected surprise for the year, for sure. And it happened actually totally organically, because we get asked all the time, like, oh, did you just do it through a parent organization or some type of industry body? It happened incredibly organically. And so we essentially talked to one bank, and we thought that they would be our customer using our software, and then they're like, oh, we actually know some other banks who have the same problem as well, and some of the mutuals, and they actually work together, like quite nicely in a way that's kind of, I would say, pretty unique to them, because they're more regional in their approach for competition, their customer base. So they're like, oh, could we do a group deal? There might be up to 10 of us. Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do that. Because if you think about like the procurement process and, contacting and meetings and demos, gosh, if you can have that type of efficiency, that saves everyone a whole lot of time and money and effort, right? So yeah, of course, we can make a group deal. But yeah, so in terms of that, obviously it was reflected in the price, but overall effort in terms of, meetings and demo and training materials, those type of things. So we're like, wow, that ended up happening.
What do you think? So that's interesting. Other than the product, right? What Adatree is offering, what do you think enabled this to happen? What external factors do you think is currently happening in the financial sector that really paved the way for this to happen? Or you might say, there's nothing really external. It's all what Adatree is bringing to the table. Love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it was just a really important time for regulation. Compliance always drives a whole lot of projects, and consumer data right, like the data sharing regime that we regulate or that we operate in. There were some really strict deadlines coming up for all these banks and credit unions. They had to make consumer data sharing available. To think of, or to like put the size and the complexity of the task in context. Like the big four banks, they had to do this 12 months prior, and they would have teams of at least 100 people working on this, and they barely just made it to their deadline of July 1st, 2020. And these ADIs, these mutuals, they had to do the same thing, but they might have 1, 2, 3 people working on it, whether it's full-time or part-time, but they had to meet the same exact requirements just a year later. So timing was really important, because they had a deadline to meet with limited resources, but like a very large task to actually do. And in considering what we do with our platform and in our software, we help companies, basically access this regulated data that these banks are sharing. So think of it, the banks, the data holders, it's like throwing a ball and our software catches it. So it's sending and receiving data. So they essentially, talk to us because they had to essentially test their data sharing. And since we were one of the very few companies actually regulated to receive it, we're like, oh, well, our software is actually fit for purpose for this. And we have a dev environment, we have a production environment. Yeah, of course, we can do this. So think of us just looking at our software in a creative way, but also just being driven by regulation. But it's not just our software too. But I think it's like our team is actually incredibly empathetic especially towards small banks, just because we've helped build banks. And I've always worked in smaller banks my whole career, realizing that you have a whole lot of work to do with not many resources. So we are pretty empathetic to them. We have incredibly deep knowledge. And instead of saying, I'm sure that other companies would have seen banks with a really tight deadline and just being like, okay, what can we get out of them? But we're like, no, this is great for consumers. Let's help them. Let's be part of their extended team. Let's give them a great offer and really help them. So I think we just had that deep knowledge, deep expertise, and the empathy, but also, the platform that we had been building for 2 years to be like, all right, cool, we can help you right now. Let's do this.
Right. Interesting. So the Adatree platform wasn't necessarily built for this. Does that mean it was this was a byproduct, and it was after building it and after getting all the approvals, it was like, oh, we could actually do this too. And then all of a sudden that became a really major part of the business. Is that what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually didn't have to make any changes to our platform at all, but we're like, oh yeah, we can enable people to receive it. But also at the same time, the same platform, we could test companies that need to share it. We didn't think about that at all until that opportunity really came up. And I'm like, well, I wasn't expecting on doing that, but if that's a problem, we can actually help solve it. We can help solve it today. So it was just a business opportunity that honestly just came up really organically. And we're like, yeah, we can do that. No problem.
That's amazing. That is such a cool story to hear. In our previous conversation, one of the things that you've touched on is a concept called a mafia offer, right? And I know that you've tried to incorporate this in everything that you do at Adatree and whenever you're going out, especially in the sales and marketing approach and packaging. Can you tell us a little bit about what is a mafia offer?
Yeah, a mafia offer, pretty simply, is an offer you can't refuse. I actually learned the term probably in 2015. One of my mentors and actually one of our investors, one of the co-founders of Tyro Payments, he would read so many product blogs, and he was just like the product and engineering visionary. He loved experimenting, whether it's with smoke tests and mafia offer. It's basically a way, or just different techniques to show product market fit and just really increase adoption and customer acquisition.
Got it. Can we look at an example? Is there something that comes to mind that we could explore to make the concept a little bit more tangible for the listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you think about ultimately when you're building a product or you have a new feature, but you can have all the hypotheses and interviews and just, so many different product development techniques, and you have something built, and there are just so many reasons that someone may or may not take it up. And if you think about just barriers to entry, and it might, you might not fit their needs, it might not have a product they want, it might be too expensive, it might just not have a sponsorship, or it might just be bad timing. But it's a question of if you give someone an offer, they might tell you a reason, but that they didn't or didn't take it. But, it might actually be a totally different reason. So I think that with the concept of a mafia offer, you really see and learn a whole lot from the business. If we're like, all right, if we say pricing or term, or there's so many different aspects of a mafia offer that you could have, and say, yeah, this is what we'll give you normally, and this is a mafia offer right now. So it's just incredibly compelling that if someone is really serious about, wanting to receive regulated data or just whatever your product actually really does, that they would take it. But if they say no, it's a question of, oh, well, why didn't you take it? And then so ultimately, if it goes well, you acquire customers and they get a better deal, or just, I'm sure that ultimately both companies really win. But if they don't take it up, then you also learn a whole lot more. So it's still like a product development technique, and you get a whole lot more market feedback and customer feedback, whether they do or don't take your offer. So that's what we ended up doing for experimentation in Tyro, but also doing it at Adatree as well. So we definitely learn a whole lot about that.
Got it. So I would imagine there could be an element of cost element to it and pricing strategy. So would you have a session with the team and say, all right, what are the objections that we get when we're trying to sell our product? And then let's go and tackle those. And now let's put this out to the market to see what they say. Or is it more sophisticated than that? Or does it have more angles to it?
No, it's actually not more sophisticated than that, but we'll be like, all right, well, maybe we'll get this type of customer, or, it might be an industry, or let's just think one that we're looking at right now, even one that's, so looking at data for good. So if we just say, okay, well, most of the time when companies receive or want to be part of this, it's because they have a commercial objective. And, it might be lenders or fintechs or payments, something like that. But there's so many amazing use cases, say it might be non-for-profits or charities or those type of things as well. So, you could make a lender an offer that'd probably be like, say term, or, pay full price, and then we'll give you an extra year for free, or, do this and we'll, throw in consulting to get you accredited, or those type of things, to really help you and them meet all of your goals. Absolutely. But if it's for like the non-for-profits, like to get them involved, I think that we would just ultimately looking at some type of a launch pad, just more aligned for data for good, not necessarily for revenue, but it's just looking at who we would like to participate in open banking, whether it's one company or a certain industry or use case, and just say, okay, how can we really work together with a whole lot of integrity to just get this deal done now?
Got it. I want to switch gear a little bit and talk about another concept that in our conversations come up quite often, and that's the concept of smoke testing. Tell me a little bit about that. What does smoke testing mean?
Smoke testing, I'm also a big fan of that. It's the idea of like, maybe if you don't have something done or ready right now, you have a smoke test. So you put something out there, it might look like it's there, and then ultimately, so it's just smoke and mirrors. I personally don't like to say it. It'd just be like, this is available right now. But even if you're like, oh, coming soon, register, those type of things. So ultimately, it shows validation of demand. How many people actually sign up for it before you actually decide to build a new product or a new feature, those type of aspects of it. So we actually did that at Tyro, where I was head of lending there. We had built a new loan product, and we had an idea about how to do some point of sale financing. And it was really, really creative how we had like a banking summit, because that's when Tyro had just got its banking license for deposit products and loan products. That's when we're like, okay, pause financing. It's going to be coming soon. Here are the features. This is how it works. And if you're interested, we can sign up. You can be part of the beta. This isn't ready yet, but this will be, in a couple months. And ultimately, that was a smoke test. So we had actually planned on doing it, but it really just showed demand where if we're like, this is our target market, they're sitting right here. And, say if there's more than 5 people that sign up, this is how we're going to prioritize it. And then this is how we're going to bring them on to beta. But if no one comes to sign up, well, then maybe we need to revisit our hypotheses. Maybe we're not ready for build right now because we don't understand something about their needs, the journey, that type of stuff. So it's often like basically like an early like wait list or sign up or a beta program, those type of things. I know about someone who they did it actually. I think it was like a travel company that was looking at a round up to donation type of thing, because people say, oh yeah, you can round up to cash or you can round up to charity donations, and they'd actually built it. And because everyone said, oh yeah, I want to round up to charity, but they'd built it and then no one ever used it. They literally never had a single user other than an internal testing. So I think that smoke test would also be a really good way, because if you ever, you could even just do testing and just have a button that says, oh yeah, round up to charity or round up to rah, 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 and just say, is there any demand? Let's see what actually people click on. You could always, just have that button and say, oh, coming soon, get on the wait list, those type of things, and actually measure it really in a quantitative way instead of just qualitative interviews. Just like, oh yeah, cool, I would do that. But just measuring actual behavior by doing smoke tests. I definitely don't like it when companies have stuff on their website and it doesn't say coming soon at all. I really dislike that. But as long as you can communicate this, say, hey, this isn't ready right now, but this is how you can get involved as an early adopter. I think it's really important for that aspect of transparency. For a smoke test.
Got it. How did you, I get that. I mean, now you are the CEO of Adatree and you could roll this out. How did you get that past, the higher management at Tyro to kind of put a message out there that about a product that is not available? Because I would imagine that a lot of marketers and people who are listening to this and be like, well, I can't get an approval for that. That's like a whole product component that it's really hard for me to just talk to people and put it out there in the market without us making a really strong decision behind it. How did you kind of get that approval at Tyro?
There, ultimately, I was reporting into the head of product and engineering, who is one of the co-founders, and he really, really encouraged experimentation for different features or adoptions or like really modern product development techniques. And it wasn't on the website. It was actually like, it wasn't misleading at all, but it was just like, hey, this is going to be coming. Are you even interested in it? So I think that
got it.
Having one of the co-founders, having one key management, having that, they were driving the experimentation. They were driving some of these techniques. So if anything, they taught people in the product team how to do this, as opposed to being, trying to convince an executive to say, yeah, this is what we should actually be doing. So I think that would be incredibly key to have that top-down approach to say, yeah, so you know what, this is how we're going to innovate. And this is how we're going to innovate rapidly and cheaply too.
Got it. Yeah, I would imagine that's a big key in making that happen. So Jill, I want to kind of circle back to the conversation that we started about the financial services sector, right? And I would love to hear your advice to people who are targeting the financial services sector to close these, banks, whether they're tier 1 or tier 2, is fintech, whatever it is, close them as customers. Because the FinServ or the BFSI space, I feel like it's if not the most, it's one of the most saturated and highly targeted sectors in Australia. So what would be your advice to an organization, to a B2B organization who is trying to target and close BFSI accounts?
I would say to be incredibly specific about the problem that you're solving and know exactly what their problems are. I think that if you come at it a different way and offer a solution that doesn't relate to the problems that they have right then, that already that you're kind of, like paddling upstream. Yeah. So I would say it's the right person. It's right timing. That's what's been like incredibly, it's worked really, really well for us, because we're like, here's a problem. We know how hard it is, and we have a lot of empathy for you. This is how we're going to solve it, and just make it, it's almost like a mafia offer, right? Like here's an offer you can't refuse. We know exactly what we're doing. We can help you, and we'll make this problem go away. Surely you have better things to do than deal with this. And this is why we're the experts in this.
Got it. I love it. I love it. Last question that I want to ask you here before we kind of get into some rapid fire questions is, I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in terms of what is going to happen to the financial sector in Australia in the coming years. I mean, we've seen a whole heap of changes in the past, probably 5 or 10 years. And with neobanks or challenger banks rising, especially in Australia, what do you think is going to happen? What's coming for the financial sector in the coming years?
I think that there's going to be 2 really key changes for financial services. One is banking as a service. So right now, it's the idea of a bank essentially white labeling its license. So UpBank, they're incredibly popular. They have an awesome app, and they win great awards. They're actually not a bank. They use Bendigo Bank's license. And so Bendigo does the licensing and the policies and all the really hard stuff. And they're a tech company. And they just have a wonderful product-led roadmap and wonderful CX. So that's essentially banking as a service. You leverage someone else's license so you can deal with product differentiation and CX, and instead of having to get the license. So I think that we're going to see a whole lot more companies, whether it's existing companies now offering banking products, kind of white labeled and in their names, or some whole new brands just come up and offering banking as well. So you can have the security of having banking products that are actually underwritten by someone else. That's what happens in insurance all the time. In so many other industries, it's really going to happen in banking. So banking as a service, it's going to be big. And then the other one will be, obviously super biased, but it's consumer data right. So you're going to be able to transfer and share all of your data purely digitally in a really secure way. Password sharing is going to essentially either be banned, or just people just won't even participate in it. So that really just shows that you can have whole new data-driven services that weren't even possible before, but also just make existing processes smoother. So gone are the days of downloading statements or sharing those or anything paper form. We're just going to see a whole lot of digital things that will be enabled, pre-populated, pre-analyzed by sharing your data and having that analyzed by data recipients as well. So overall, that should lead to more competition, more suitable choices, and just better consumer outcomes. So I have a very bright outlook for FS.
All right. Love it. Love it. All right. Let's jump into some rapid fire questions. Okay. The first thing I want to ask you is, what is one resource? This can be a book, it can be a podcast, a blog, a talk, whatever it is that has fundamentally changed the way you work or you live, and your mindset.
Work Life by Adam Grant podcast.
Adam Grant is a superstar for sure. Question number 2. If you could give one advice to B2B marketers and salespeople, especially those who maybe are going after the financial services, what would that be?
Be pinpointed with your accuracy, targeting, and problem-solving focus.
Question number 3. Who are some of the influencers that you follow in the marketing and sales space? I
have my own mentors that I talk to a whole lot, and then generally I just listen to a few podcasts or just honestly read books. But I'm more listening to the product development podcasts, and then I translate that to marketing personally. So even Simon Sinek. Got it. Yeah, Simon Sinek is a good one. Okay, last question is, what's something that excites you about B2B today? I think that it's harder to onboard clients, but I think it's much more personal, and it's actually much more relationship based. instead of, B2C marketing, that might be a whole lot of ads on social media and that type of stuff. I personally find it that so many of the deals are done based on relationships, integrity, transparency, those type of things. So that's what I love about it, really.
Got it. Jill, this has been awesome. And it's been great to have you on the podcast. I think you've shared some really awesome points. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast and giving us your time.
Oh, thanks for having me. You've also asked fantastic questions.
Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
This episode of Growth Colony was produced by Alexander Hipwell. It was edited by Dave Samito, with additional editing and music also by Alexander Hipwell. Special thanks to Tina Wabe and Rod Hoda. We couldn't make the show without you. The show is hosted by Shahin Hoda. If you enjoy the episode, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or share a pod with a friend. If you'd like to connect with the members of Growth Colony, join our free Slack channel at growthcolony.org/Slack. Thanks again for all the support and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. This podcast is brought to you by Xgrowth, an account-based marketing agency with a strong specialization in the APAC market. If you're starting to roll out an account-based marketing initiative in your firm or looking to take your current program to the next level, whether it's one-to-one, one-to-few, or one-to-many, don't try to do it all alone. Chat with the ABM experts at Xgrowth to see how they can help you both on strategy and execution of your next ABM campaign. To find out more, head to www.xgrowth.com.au. That's www.xgrowth.com.au.